Hello everyone, welcome to next session of our training. In this particular session, we will be discussing about Logon group. What is the use of Logon group in our SAP systems? We also seen about load balancing. What is load balancing? How do we create load balancing? In a larger SAP systems, let's say in a SAP system which has more than one servers, then we need to consider how can we balance the load. Means that whenever a user log on, you have more than one system, that is you have CI system and you also have application instances. In that cases, how the user will be distributed. We seen how the message server works and we also seen how the load balancing works. So we need to see how the load balancing is being configured in the SAP system in this particular session. There is a lot of ways you can do load balancing in an SAP systems. For example, here you can see your SAP GUI users, and we have central instance and application instance, and we have our database. Database could be any database, let's assume. So the load balancing of a specific system or any SAP system can be configured in different ways. That is depends on your scenario. The best scenario is, let's say you create one logon group, put all the central instance and application instance in one group. That's what you generally see, and make it in one group. Then let SAP manages the load balancing by its own. This is one approach. This is the general approach you may see in many of the SAP system. So let's say if your SAP system is not so complex, then I will say you should go for this kind of solution. Or let's say if the SAP system is divided into regions, let's say you have a system which is used by many people around the world, then there may be possibility that one region or one specific area, let's say Asia Pacific, you have more user than the Europe users. In that case, you wanted to divide or you wanted to assign specific resources for a specific region. So that is possible. So we can create different logon groups and assigned with different application instance or central instance. You can also see here that central instance can be assigned to more than one logon group. Similarly, the application instance also can be assigned more than one logon group. It does not mean that one application instance assigned to one logon group, then it cannot be assigned to another. You can assign to multiple logon groups. Again, how you want to distribute it. This is based on the users. We can also see some companies, they divide based on modules. Means you will generally find one specific logon group for finance. For example, if you are working with shared services concept, you are a multinational company and you are working with shared service concept, in that cases, month end closing or the quarter end closing or the year end closing will become very critical for your business. In that time, the users who is doing month end closing or year end closing, they need to have the maximum available resource because it has to be done in the specific time and you cannot extend that time. So in that cases, you will see a specific logon group is been created and given to these users. So in that cases, for example, in the similar case here, you have one CI and 4 AI. What we can do is, let's say one AI is never assigned to any logon group. Okay, and then you create one logon group which will have one AI, and or let's say this AI which is not assigned to any logon group, and additionally 2-3 AI and the CI which is also shared by another user. So in that case, what happens is one AI application instance only dedicated for this group of users. So at a point in time, they will not have any problem says that they do not have resource. They have a reserved resource and they can also use the shared resource. So this is the way you will come to some conclusion how you can define your logon group. This is based on users and the region. The other way to look at it is that, let's say you are using a lot of interfaces, for example, using RFCs. Yeah. In that case, you can have a different approach. The RFC is generally, if you use, let's say, one logon group, this RFC call sometimes could be very intensive. Let's say if you're calling from a BA systems and you have an APO systems, you have different systems which is connected to your ECC system. In that case, your RFC calls could be quite large, or let's say you'll have n number of RFC calls. So in that case, if you assign one logon group or create one logon group, give this logon group to your RFCs, and RFC also can be created to one application instance, and it also can be created for the logon group. So in that case, if you give the logon group, and it is going to occupy all work process, which also is not a very good scenario. So in that cases, let's say you have some situation like this, or your system landscape demands that you have quite a lot of RFC calls. So if you don't want to interrupt the end users, because that's the main objective of our system, because you need to give more priority to your end users. In that case, what you can do is you can, let's say, take one application instance as well as the central instance. Central instance generally should not be used for RFC calls. Let's say two application server, and create one logon group and give only two RFC calls. Let's mean RFC logon. Remote function call should be executed only in these two application instances. We are taking this as an example, one central instance for application instance. So you create one RFC group only for these two. This also can be assigned to the other group which will be used by the end user. So in that case, what happens is the RFC calls which is coming from an external system will go only to the AI. It's not going to interfere other systems or other instances. However, the end user can use all the instances. So if, let's say, at a particular time when the RFC calls comes in, the work process in both the application instance are already filled up or already occupied, then the RFC calls will wait for some time till this is getting free. So it's not going to affect other application instance, and other user will not be interrupted during this process. This is one way to do it. For example, logon group. Or let's say if you want to allow users to, there is some users who will schedule jobs. In that case, they should be able to log on to one specific group of logon group to schedule jobs. Schedule job is again little bit critical. We will see that in more detail. We can create a pool as a background servers. So there you can also do that. That is little different from here. In that cases also, we can also define the background job load balancing, which is again a different topic. Here now we are talking about logon group load balancing. So there are a lot of ways you can change, or you can distribute your load to different users. Now you may think, okay, once I decide the logon group, it should be like this. Then after I found out it's cannot work like this, I wanted to change the logon group methodology. Can we change it? Yes, of course. You can change your logon group strategy after you have designed. So let's say it may not be possible that you define the logon group procedures and it's going to work like this after 3 or 4 years. So you need to review it. Maybe 3 or 4 years, your business scenario and your landscapes and everything is changed. In that case, you need to change as well as the logon group. Moreover, let's say you have a logon group, and let's assume the instances which is available in the logon group is not enough. Then you will simply add additional application instance, add it into the existing logon group. This is quite simple as that. Okay. Let's go to the next presentation and see how it works. Here you can see some example here. You can see there is a logon group which is for public, generally used. You can see this server seems to have 2 application instance, one is the central instance, another one is an application instance. And so they created one group called public, which has the two instances, and they created one RFC group which is only assigned for one instance, so it's not going to affect the other instance. So let's assume the user is logging in using this group, public group, then this particular server is only available for the dialog users. It's not available for the RF. So the remote function call request is quite high, or let's say it's more than what we expect. There is no work process which can be allocated, then it's not going to affect this server. It's not going to log into this server. Okay, it will use only this server. Let's say you may think, now what happens if there is no work process available? If that case, then the TURFC will be waiting, or it will be executed later stage. Or you may also find some time in your system there is a lot of QRFCs not being executed, which will be executed later on. So there is a lot of other ways. So you don't interrupt your day-to-day activity because of these interfaces. So that's the idea behind that. Now let us see how can we configure the load balancing in our SAP system as well as in SAP GUI. So let's log into our SAP system. The SAP system which you will be using for this particular exercise will be the system ECC. Let's log in there. So now if you see the logon pad, let's go to the change mode of the ECC systems. It says custom application server. So we are directly logging to one specific application server for the instance number 00 and the system ID ECC. Okay, so let's go back. So how to create a group? First of all, we can use the menu path, go to tools, then go to CCMS, then you go to configuration, then we go to SMLG, logon group. So the transaction code which is used to create logon group is SMLG. We can simply click here, or we can also execute the transaction code SMLG. So now if you can see here, the maintain logon group screen has come. Here you can create logon group. At the moment you can see there is a logon group called space, and this is the instance. So in this server ECC you have only one instance. How do we see how many instances in the system? So we have a transaction code for that. That is SM51. SM51. You go to SM51, you can see how many instances are there. You can see here you have only one instance. In general, of course, you need more than one instance to create logon group. At the moment, we are just doing the training for this. We have only one system, so we can also create with one system just to test it. So let's go to SMLG, and first what we need to do is create a logon group. You simply click the create button, then you type in the group name which we want. Okay, basis training. Okay, let's say copy. Of course we need to assign one instance here, and say copy. Then you can see this is created. Let's assume that you want to assign more than one instance. So in that case you'll see all the instances here. So simply double click, then you can select from here and assign the specific logon group. So it's not complicated. Same like if you want to assign in the logon group, the specific instance, you select the logon group and select the instance, then add it. Then it will copy it. It will copy to this specific screen. So it's kind of copying. Okay. So already exists. Okay. So similarly, if you wanted to change it, you can use the change, or you can also use delete for delete assignments. For example, if you want to delete only the assignments, if you have more than one instances assigned, then you can simply delete the assignment. Or if you want to delete the entire group, then you can delete the entire group. Or if you want to remove only the specific instance from the specific group, then you can use this one. And here also you have something very interesting. This is for the load distribution. Here you will be able to see how the load distribution is being done. So let's say, for example, this specific instance, the load group space have how many instances, what is the response time, how many users, like this information which you can see. Okay, this is very good information in terms of monitoring how the load balancing is working. So this is how we will create a logon group. Let us see next how we can configure the logon group in your SAP GUI, because it is very important when you create a logon group. This logon group is being configured for all the users. Okay, let's minimize this one. Let's go to SAP GUI. So before you start configuring the SAP GUI, you have to make sure that specific message server is being configured in your notebook or in the PC. So how do we see that? The message server port need to be configured. So if you're a Windows administrator, then you know how this works. So there is a file called service file in the Windows. This needs to be updated. Once you update the service file, the system needs to be restarted. Go to your C drive, then go to Windows, then go to the directory system32. There you will find a directory called drivers. Inside drivers you will find a directory called etc. Here you will find some files. This is host file. This basically gives you the name resolution for your host to the specific IP address. Then we need to update this file, service file. This is already updated. We'll simply open this and show you how it can be updated. So this will have all the TCP ports, which TCP port is used for what. If you go to the end, you will find all the SAP TCP ports. Here you can see I already updated the logon group SAP message server ECC. This is the port it's working at the moment. This is actually the default port for the message server. This can be changed in some scenarios. If in some companies, for the security reason, they will not keep it in the default port. So that during the installation you can change the specific port. So this needs to be configured, otherwise the SAP GUI will not be able to identify which port this message server is communicating at the moment. Okay, so this is a prerequisite before you start configuring the SAP GUI. So at the moment you can see here the SAP GUI is everything is on specific server. So let's create a group. So let's go to create user specific system. Then here connection type. Here you say group and server selection. Let's say here do some example 99 basis training group. Then we need to provide the system ID, that is ECC. Then you provide the message server. This can be your IP address of the central instance, or it could be also the name of the server. Let's say this name of the server is ECC demo. Okay, that's what you need. So once you give that, then this will automatically query the groups which is available in the server. So let's select, you can see right now it has only the space and the ECC demo. We could not see the basis group which we have created. So this could be the reason, because we did not save this setting still. Okay, I'll simply save it. I can see the save changed. Now I go back here, need to do this again, ECC demo, so that it will query this again, and now you can see it created the additional logon group. Whatever we have in our SAP GUI or inside SAP, you can see it here. So I think it automatically goes to the CI, the specific instance, and say finish. Now if I log on with this one, you can see it's logging on to the specific group. Anyway, this will go to the same instance at the moment. If you have more than one instance, then SAP will automatically redirect the user to the instance which one is free. Okay, this is how we can create logon group in your SAP systems. With this, we are coming to end of this particular session. Thank you very much for listening. I will see you in the next session. Bye-bye.